What would you do if your love turned into hate? If everything you fought for potentially turned against you and worked against you, what would you do if you became a scapegoat? And everything that you loved, the government and the people around you used it against you to stop you from furthering and pursuing your life. As Cleveland Seller Jr. says in his biography, everybody is looking for a scapegoat. I choose that specific quote from him because you see throughout this book how when things took a turn from him and when things took a turn on him, essentially his entirety of his livelihood that he dedicated to the civil rights movement ended up slowing him down in a lot of facets, including education and later pursuing his career, even hurting him to the fact of facing jail time. These are all things his dad warned him about, Cleveland Sellers Sr. And Adam Parker, the author of this lovely biography, Outside Agitator, Civil Rights Struggle of Cleveland Sellers Jr., did a lot to try to warn Cleveland Sellers that the civil rights movement did have these negative effects, as back then white supremacists would often burn businesses, destroy houses, kill people, do anything they could to keep anybody involved in these movements down. And this book talks a lot of how when you join groups like SCLC, SNCC, National Urban League, or NAACP, it could have haunting effects. And you don't see those haunting effects now because the idea of political correctness has changed over the years, and this book does touch base on that. But rather, back then, those were things that right after the civil rights movement, they were still out to get any of those individuals to help dilute the movement as much as they possibly could. This book mentions a lot of great activists like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Stokely Carmichael, who we'll find out was Cleveland Sellers Jr.'s best friend, and he is the one who coined the phrase, "We want Black Power." A lot of this book discusses not just Sellers' early days, but as well as the Orangeburg Massacre, some of the race riots, the ideal of what it really means to have Black Power, and how the political agendas shifted throughout and after the major heights of the movement. Right? Some of the after effects, like having a criminal record, making it harder to find a job, the increased difficulty of trying to get an education as a Black American, are all specified in these books and all pretty much through Cleveland Sellers Jr.'s life. But what I love most about this book is in a time where we as a Black community are gaslit into believing that everything is in the past and we as a country have moved past racism, this book serves as a constant reminder that these recent events were not as recent as they may seem. And some of the systems that were in place then are still in place now to keep the African American down. This book shows a lot about how the education and careers of African Americans are constantly at a threat, and especially to those who are willing to fight for the true economic and intellectual freedom that we as a community deserve. So if you want to learn more about the movement, if you want to learn more about some of the after effects of the civil rights movement from a more personal matter, and if you want to learn what it's like to have people use you as a scapegoat and dilute the movement that you care so much about, ruining your life, your education, giving you a criminal record, look no further than Outside Agitators.